next group is the Unitarian Universalist.
Okay, you begin.
I'm big.
Get ready for some more meat. Jim and I are going to do our best to keep this 5 minutes or less.
This is Jim and Jim.
Yeah, well,
All right. Which is which?
he's Jim the Elder.
Accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior or burn in hell for all eternity, roared the red-faced fundamentalist preacher. It made my hair stand up on my then 9-year-old neck. A week later, before the Sunday school teacher could begin her Bible lesson, I asked her, if people have to accept Jesus so they won't burn in hell, what about all those people in Africa and China who never even heard of Jesus? With a look of annoyed indignation, she responded, that's why we have to send more missionaries. To my 9-year-old mind, that was like trying to empty the ocean a bucket at a time. If God was not more fair than that, what kind of heaven would we find? I made several unsuccessful attempts to connect with churches after that. A revivalist preacher began his opening sermon with a derogatory joke about blacks and Jews. Once, my grandmother and I watched the Mormon Tabernacle Choir on TV present a majestic version of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, after which my grandmother responded, ain't it a shame that all those people are going straight to hell? In 1964, when I met the woman who would become my wife and my best friend, I had no church home. But she insisted our wedding would be performed by a Unitarian minister. So that was my introduction to Unitarian Universalism. I found a faith in which I don't have to profess allegiance to a book, an official, a creed, or anything in which I don't truly believe. We believe in reason and conscience. We believe in science. We believe in freedom of religious expression, toleration of religious ideas. Individuals are encouraged to explore and develop their own personal theology and to express religious opinions without fear of censure or reprisal. Roughly 90% of Unitarian Universalists come from other faiths. Women UU ministers are as numerous as men. We have gay, lesbian, and transgender pastors. We believe that deeds are more important than creeds. 20% of Unitarian Universalist ministers took part in the civil rights marches of the 1960s. The death of Unitarian Universalist minister James Reeve after a severe beating by white supremacists in Selma, Alabama, was instrumental in the passing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We believe that religion should unite us, not divide us into separate camps. My church here in Victoria welcomes members of the LGBT community, and we don't specify what bathroom they should use. In our congregation, we have Christians, pagans, agnostics, probably an atheist or two, and possibly a witch or two. We all have our individual religious quests, and we love and support each other in those quests.
We do have a series of ideas or ideals that we try to live up to, and I want to briefly introduce them to you. One, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Two, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Three, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Four, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Five, the rights of conscience and the use of democratic processes within our congregations and in society at large. Six, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And finally, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we, human beings, are only a part. There are those of us who maintain our Christian orientation within this church. Mine started at the College of Worcester and was grounded in Presbyterian beliefs, which I still hold to quite strongly, although I like this church better at the present moment, and it seems to meet my needs there. And always when I think about that, I recall a moment in my life before I graduated where, walking home one night with my roommate, we lived in the home of a political science professor. We got our keys to go in the door, and as the door opened, there were 6 to 7 huge, gigantic black men standing there. Guns. And one, not pulled, but wearing. One of them said, "You stay here." We went in, and then I could hear my professor say, "Come on in, Jim. Come on in, Carl. I want you to meet somebody. This fellow calls himself Malcolm X." We stayed up for the entire night and talked into the next morning. And I think I learned as much about faith listening to him as I did anywhere else in my life. It is this kind of an experience now that I find working with my friends, my strong friends in the Unitarian Church. It doesn't stop me from being a Christian. I think it makes me a better Christian, and I think it makes us all better that we live together the way we do. So we're trying to set an example. Thank you. Questions?
What's the ordination requirement or process in your denomination?
And, well, neither of us being ministers, it's hard for us to tell you, but it's a process that takes over 2 years.
Right. And many of ours, we just had a young woman come in whose ordination, at least their schooling, was a Union theological.
Yeah.
And one that I talked to on the phone the other day came from Harvard Divinity. They're smart people, and they're devout people in their own ways.
So is some form of formal education a part of it?
Yes, very definitely. I think Harvard Divinity would argue that there's...
Well, those are examples. I was just curious if that was, the norm for everyone. I didn't know if it was, could some local people be raised up in ordination by your local community?
No. you have to go to graduate school.
There's a formal one.
Yes, sorry.
But there is no seminary specifically that's.
Yes, there are two or three. And Harvard Divinity School was the original Unitarian Universalist too. There's Star King, there's Chicago, I forget the name of the one in Chicago, but there are several more Unitarian Universalists.
If you accept for, most of the training, then you do your, we can go to any seminary, we have to do our own for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Internship, yeah.
Let's take a 5-minute break.